Let's rank every single Collingwood game of 2025. Now, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I will be doing a season review later on this week, but I wanted to rank every single game that we've had in 2025. I was going to say so far, but unfortunately, there's no more games left for us. And you can see the 5 categories on screen already. So I've got incredible, good, 50-50, bad, and diabolical. Now, these aren't, sometimes you'll see a win go into bad. I'm thinking. I haven't really, you know, we're doing this in real time, right? You might see a loss go into 50-50. There's not going to be obviously a good loss or an incredible loss. And then I'll talk you through what is going on. So I'm going in blind and going from my memory. So this is going to be, yeah, probably the stupidest thing that I've done on this channel with regard to my memory because it's notoriously bad. But we'll get into it. There are 25 games, and we're going to start with the Giants and Collingwood. Now, I know off the top that this loss was diabolical. Now, diabolical because, 52 points. I was there at this game. It was so hot. This is the game where Nick Dacos was cramping, and as soon as remember, there was only 2 games in opening round. We were one of them. And as soon as this happened, it was they're too old, they're too slow. What is going on with Collingwood? They're going to be a bottom of the ladder, all of this sort of stuff. It really started that too old, too slow narrative that was sort of happening throughout the preseason. But this kind of was like I guess it solidified it amongst the media and I guess amongst some of our supporters as well. Because I remember when I posted about this, I said it was a pathetic. I think I said it was a pathetic loss, and it kind of was, right? Maybe pathetic was a bit too strong of a word, but it was definitely diabolical. The way that we went about it, we did, in fairness, we did look too old and too slow, and Giants were running rings around us. You can say that it was the weather that we weren't ready for, or I know the preparation was there because I've been seeing them train for months before that. But I did say that it was an anomaly because I did say that the way that we played wasn't the way that we trained. And then you go on to round 1, which was the Collingwood Port Adelaide game. So that was incredible. A 91-point win, which is what, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 143-point turnaround from the loss. And you could just see the stark differences between our worst and our best. And little were we to know that that was how the season was going to go. But gives us a good base of what is diabolical and what is incredible. So that was, if we're not counting opening round, a great way to start the season. Now we start getting into the games where it's like, okay, here we sort of go. So round 2, we took on the Doggies. Now, it was a good win because it was a 6-point win. It was a goal, but I'm going to go 50-50 here, only because we started off poorly. I'm pretty sure this was a game where we didn't score for like 20 minutes, or we definitely didn't score in that sort of first quarter, and we let, Darcy kick 4 goals. Doggies sort of had it on their terms for most of the game. Steel Sidebottom was the hero in this game right at the end, which was great. We absolutely love that. But this was a bit of a 50-50 game. I thought we should have beaten the Doggies by a lot more. This was the game where I think we had a lot of free kicks and the Doggies didn't really have any, and we were getting favoured by the umps and all this stuff that would come to bite us on the backside a little bit later. But I have that win as, a 50-50, neither good, but it wasn't bad. It was just sort of in the middle because I thought we could have done better. Now, Carlton, any win against Carlton is going to be incredible. I'll let you know that right now. This game, we had Carlton go 0-4 after this game, so that was great. A few goals win, three-goal win. Carlton scored a couple of cheapies, if I remember correctly, right at the end. Now, gather round against the Swans. I thought this was an incredible win. I know the Swans weren't going well, but this is the game where we birthed Ned Long. He had a career best game up until that point, and he really helped us go along and really help Nick in the midfield and stuff like that. And going to gather round, we have that great that great history at Adelaide Oval, and I was there for Gather Round. It was just so much fun. That doesn't come into my thinking of why this was an incredible win, but a 5 goal win against the Swans on your home away from home deck. We played really good Collingwood football there. And this is where we started seeing things that we hadn't seen, especially in that Giants game, and we started the ball rolling. So I really loved that one. So the next game we have, this was another incredible win. I really don't know how this is going to go with recording the screen, but we'll go through it anyway. This one was the Brisbane game where we just went up to the Gabba and we beat them by 52 points. We beat the reigning premier by over 50 points, and we stifled them. We stopped them from playing their brand of football. And I said that we were slowly building into this season. Like, yeah, the Port Adelaide game was incredible, 91-point win. But then you go to the Carlton, then you got that Doggies game, then the Carlton game, then you start slowly going on this incline. And that Brisbane game really reminded the competition what Collingwood can do and what Collingwood will do to you if you're not on your game and you're not stopping our run and our movement of the ball. And this was, I wish we took some lessons out of this game when we played the Lions in the prelim. So yeah, I really enjoyed that game. So now we've got the Essendon Collingwood game. This was Anzac Day. Another absolutely incredible win. Essendon by 41 points on Anzac Day. It doesn't get more incredible than that. I thought we really that was a really huge team game in that game. Nick Dacos was the youngest Collingwood captain in 57 years in this game because Darcy Moore was injured. Steel Sidebottom won the Anzac Day medal. I reckon he had over a dozen clearances, if memory serves me correctly, and definitely over 30 disposals. Uncle could do it. Unc got back to his best. And when you smash your arch rivals and pile on some more misery, historically, Anzac Day games have been pretty close, especially Collingwood Essendon games over the years have been pretty close here and there. So to beat them by, as much as we bet them by, incredible. And I think, guessing from what I've already seen so far in this video, most of our wins to start the year are going to be incredible, but let's see if that sort of holds up. And we definitely haven't had any losses until, we get to this next one. Now, are these in order? Let me check if they're in order. Yeah, okay, they are in order. All right. So, Collingwood, Geelong. This was bad. I'm going to put this as bad. It wasn't diabolical, but it was a bad loss because we had Geelong on the ropes. We absolutely had Geelong on the ropes, and we let them come back. We let Dangerfield do his thing in that last quarter, and we saw what he can do at his best. This was the game where Jordan De Goey was playing, and we may as well have played a guy down because he didn't do anything of sort of value. And this is where I'm pretty sure after this game, Jordan De Goey put his hand down or put his hand up and he stopped playing to get his body right. I'm pretty sure it was after this game, but I was there watching it and it was, the kick after the siren with Jack Crisp. And if you have to kick after the siren, and I do love a comeback and stuff like that, but in that game, it probably made sense that we lost that game with a kick after the siren because I hate saying that we would have stolen that game, but for what Geelong, from memory, they were 4 goals down in that last quarter, and what they were able to do, and we just couldn't put them to bed. And if I do remember correctly, the umpiring this was absolutely atrocious as well. So I'm going to put that as bad. Fremantle, Collingwood. I'm going to put this as incredible. I know it's only a 14-point win, but going over to Optus Stadium, so going away and resting the players that we did. We rested 4 players that game, including De Goey. I thought that, that win there was a real camaraderie win and definitely different to the Collingwood Geelong game the week before. And I remember saying in my review of this game right after, I think I said something like, we'll look back on this game, in finals if we win the flag and stuff, as the game that sort of turned it, and we really showed the side by side spirit, and we did show the side by side spirit. Um, ultimately didn't win the flag, of course, but I thought that was an incredible win. With that's when it started, that let's rest players mantra. Again, came back to bite us on the ass. A little bit of foreshadowing, worked out here though. So that was, yeah, an incredible win. Um, Collingwood, Adelaide. I got this win as just a good win. We did what we needed to do. It was a rainy day at the MCG. Everyone was sort of scared of their big three or big four talls. And I remember Billy Frampton absolutely pocketing those guys there. Fogarty got off the leash a little bit. This is the game where Braden Maynard captained as well. I was in the president's function for this game, so that was an experience in and of itself. But this was just a good win. It wasn't incredible or anything sort of like that. So this was just a really good win, a grind out win, and one of the two wins against Adelaide to start the season. All right, now Kangaroos. Collingwood. I've got this as a good win. Now, I know we won by 45 points, but we 100% should have absolutely blasted the Roos by so much more. So this was a game where it was pretty close until three-quarter time. I have had to look up the scores. 7 goals, 17 at three-quarter time, and then we pile it on in the last quarter. This was the Markov, the baby stomp game, when he was at Bunnings, the infamous Bunnings game, when Scott Pendlebury pulled out with illness. Maynard with his plantar fasciitis injury as well. So I'm giving this good just because it shouldn't have been that close until three-quarter time. And when you sort of start thinking about this game, it starts to it's the Collingwood that Collingwood form dip starts to sort of come into play a little bit around here and after, or around the bye. So I've just got that as a good game. So the next one, this one is, I don't even have to tell you, this is 100% incredible. This is the Collingwood Hawthorn game. Our bogey side, we put away by 50 points. And I'm pretty sure Jack Ginnivan kicked a couple of goals in this game. But this was a big turn from what we played Hawthorn last time, which was 2024. And they beat us by 60-odd points. And that was a miserable diabolical game. But to beat Hawthorn by 50 points was another absolutely incredible win. Elliott kicked 5 goals that game. This is the one where Meek smashed into Lipinski as well. But for Hawthorn, if I do remember correctly, around this time, they were starting to perk up a little bit, like a young Hawks team always do. And to put them in their place, Friday night football, say less, you know what I mean? Okay, oh Jesus. Collingwood, Melbourne. I'm going to give this bad. I know it's a win. I know it's a 1-point win, but I'm going to give this bad. When we played Melbourne on this day, this was before the bye, Melbourne were doing terribly. They were doing absolutely terribly, and we just beat them by 1 point. We know that Melbourne always come out to play us, especially in a big game like the Big Freeze, and they nearly ran over the top of us. It pretty much took that errant kick from Max Gawn, and when he had that sort of fight or that argument with Stephen May right at the end, for us to win this game. Because it could have been anywhere, could have gone anywhere. And it kind of reminds me of the game before the bye where I think it was 2024, where the same sort of thing happened, and then we have the bye, and then things start to sort of unravel for Collingwood. So I'm gonna put this as bad only because, like, yeah, a 1-point win is good, but for where Melbourne was and what we were doing to teams around this time, we should have definitely beaten them by a lot more. It looked like we were just trying to get to the bye, doing what we needed to do to get to the bye. Oh, I should mention as well, this was the Ed Langdon tagging game, where it starts a series of events where Nick Dacos is getting extremely hard tags, and that was that game. So the next game is Collingwood St Kilda right after the bye. I'll put this as a good win. This was the Winhager-Dacos battle. It only looks good, 34 points, because we scored a bunch of late goals. But St Kilda were pretty much keeping in tow with us for most of that game. It's Membry's return game to Marvel against the Saints. Cameron kicked a couple of nice goals as well, but this didn't really rock the boat too much. We did what we needed to do against the Saints at our one of two consecutive games at Marvel. The next being West Coast Eagles. Again, I'll put this as a 50-50 game, because when a team, I don't know if the Eagles had won a game up until this point, but team down the bottom at Marvel, we did lose to them. I think it was in 2022 at Marvel. 29 points against the Eagles shouldn't have happened. We should have absolutely belted them. And you know, we've seen Collingwood do this to teams. Like, look at the start of the year, 91 points against Port. Whenever we play these lower teams, we just can't go with them and run across them and run right through them. And it become bloody annoying, especially when we needed to start, getting percentage. And I know around this time we were on top of the ladder. We hadn't, the only game that we had lost was that Geelong game so far. But again, doing what we needed to do, but I'm putting it at 50-50 because we should have absolutely pantsed the Eagles at Marvel. Now, again, don't have to say much about this one. 56 points against the arch rivals. That is an incredible win by any stretch of the imagination. So we're just going to quickly move on from that one. Now it gets to the time of the year where you're going, what is going on with Collingwood? Okay, we're 10 points up. So we beat Carlton by 56 points. Smash them, right? Absolutely bury them. Put a nail into their coffin. They can't do anything because they're Carlton. Put the nail into their coffin. And then you go, okay, we're 10 points up. How are we starting to look? And now, Craig McRae's going, okay, we've got enough wins to qualify. Here we go. And then the Gold Coast game happens. We fly up to the Gold Coast. We rest Mychek. We rest Lipinski. Pendlebury is the starting sub. And we lose by 6 points. I'm going to put this as diabolical. Now, I'm going to put this as a diabolical loss because it took us until the third quarter to score a goal? Like, I know we came back and we probably could have won, but diabolical because this shouldn't have happened against the Suns. This was the Suns' best win in their history so far. Obviously, their best win would be the first final against the Dockers. But this was diabolical because at one point in the last quarter, we were up and then we just stopped doing what we were doing. I think this is where we started seeing a little bit of the selection issues come into play that will ultimately bite us in the ass right at the end. Pendlebury should never have been the starting sub. I get resting players. Patrick Lipinski at this point in time was the best kick to point conversion ratio in the league, and then he gets rested. Mychek gets rested as well. So then we start this unfortunate turn of events with our team, and you go, okay, we lost this one. We're still up on top of the ladder by a few points, and then it's Fremantle, the loss by 1 point. Now I'll put this one as diabolical as well because again, this was where we had all of the play. Was it the second? It was the third quarter where we had all of those inside 50s for one or two goals. And it was just one of those frustrating games where we should have won this game. We let Patrick Voss kick 6 goals. And at this point in time, remember, there's no Frampton, there's no Jeremy Howe as well. It's Patrick Voss. It's Darcy Moore and Charlie Dean trying to do this job. And Voss just gets let off the leash, kicks 6 goals. Fremantle win by a point. And this is where our season starts to teeter downhill, and we start becoming a little bit of a downhill skiers. Richmond Collingwood, this was a 50-50 win because, you could probably argue to push that up to a good win, but I've got it as a 50-50 win because, yes, we needed to win, right? We needed to win after 2 losses in a row and to keep that first place in check. But it wasn't a Collingwood like game. It wasn't the sort of way we were playing pre-buy. Definitely wasn't the way the Collingwood that beat Carlton by 56 points just a few weeks prior to this. We went through the motions. It kind of reminded me of the Melbourne game and, the St Kilda and kind of, or maybe the West Coast game where we just went through the motions, did what we needed to do to win, but we weren't fixing some of the things that were broken from the Gold Coast and the Fremantle game, but it was good to get the win. So I've got this as 50-50. And then, this is where it starts coming unstuck. I've got this one, the Collingwood Brisbane game, as bad. So not diabolical, um, but I got it as bad because, again, it was kind of like in the prelim that I'll talk about in a little bit as well. We came back and we kicked a bunch of goals and we were looking good. And this was the game where Jordan De Goey comes in after a long out, where Bobby Hill comes in after a long period of being out. So it was good for that. But this is where we tried Ned Long as a tagger and it just didn't work. And again, a bit of selection issue. Should we have played Bobby and Geordie at the same time, bringing them both back in at the same time? Probably not. Geordie did well from that. Obviously, we know about Bobby, but I don't think it was a diabolical loss. It really, we were seeing some cracks starting to form, and then the cracks would become earthquakes when we play Hawthorn, and that was the most diabolical loss. Like 64 points, and I remember being there and watching this, and it was disheartening because now we've lost uh, four of our last 5 games, our only win being against Richmond. And you watch this and you go, oh my God, we have got Adelaide next week. What is going on? Now we're not on top of the ladder anymore. Our top 4 spot is in jeopardy. There was, talks that we could drop out of the 8 if we keep playing like this. And to go from beating the Hawks by 51 points to now only, losing to them by 64 points, by 10 goals. And they had an absolute field day, and it was just panic stations. Collingwood supporters, and they won't say it publicly, but I know it was panic stations at in Collingwood HQ as well. So speaking of, the next one is Adelaide Collingwood. Now, you know what? I'm gonna give this good. I know it was a loss, and it was only lost by 3 points, so that's why I'm giving it good. But something clicked into gear. Now, the thing that clicked into gear for me was the 9-day break. Now, that Hawthorn game that I just talked about was the 3rd game in 11 days for the Pies. So, obviously, we looked tired. Obviously, we looked old. We have a 9-day break going up to Adelaide to only lose by 3 points. And again, another game that we could have won, kind of like the Fremantle game, kind of like the Gold Coast game. Another game that we could have won, but Adelaide proved just a little bit too strong. And now we've lost 3 games in a row. And if it wasn't panic stations before, it's panic stations even more now. But I remember talking about this in the preview, and I remember, doing the Magpie talkback and what reading comments and DMs and stuff like that. We finally got to see the Collingwood that we know and love. Yes, we lost by 3 points in another close game, but we finally got to see a Collingwood side that we were seeing earlier on in the season. And I know it was a loss. I know it was 3 losses in a row now, but we finally got to see a Collingwood side that could challenge for a flag. And then it takes us to the last game of the home and away season, which I'm going to give as bad here. Now, I'm giving it as bad. We needed to win this game to finish in the top 4. We still could have finished outside of the 4. But Melbourne, again, they just proved to be a thorn in our side. Melbourne had nothing to play for except to make our lives miserable as hell. And they tried their absolute best to make it miserable as hell. And they nearly did. They nearly did. For the first 3 quarters, I remember when the siren went to start the game, it was really, you could feel the anxiety and the stress around the stadium. No supporters were cheering. It was a very lackluster start to the game. And I think the players could feel that too. We talk a lot about the 19th player or the 19th man, whatever you want to say, and how it energizes the guys. You could feel our anxiety and stress going into them. And then Christian Petrarca kicks that goal and they're up by a few goals. And it takes until the 4th quarter where we go, hang on a second, we need to win. Let's click into gear. Let's switch on. And then we play the Collingwood way. too little. No, I was gonna say too little, too late. We did get the win. And it was great, and we solidified a spot in the top four. But we should have put the Demons away. They had absolutely nothing to play for. We had everything to play for, and we still nearly cooked it. So now we get to the finals. This one is obviously an incredible win. Um, we go to Adelaide in the first qualifying final, beat them by 24 points, and you go, hang on a second. This was all a master plan. All the resting, all this, all that. It was all a part of the plan. We're geniuses. We're going to win this game. We got a week off, and then we take on whoever we take on in the prelim, because at the time, obviously, we didn't know. Um, but that game, again, it's the camaraderie effect of traveling, especially after, 2 wins in the last 7 games. The camaraderie effect of everyone going to Adelaide, getting out of the Melbourne bubble, and playing the way that we did. The 80 tackles, the 30 tackles inside forward 50. It was one of the best games, or one of the best Collingwood games of the season. I'm not going to rank all these games, but we're just going to, we'll just chuck it up here because it was probably, I don't know why it won't let me do that. There you go. It was probably the best win of the season because it was a backs against the wall win. And we know Collingwood love a backs against the wall win. But now we get to the prelim. And this was diabolical. This was diabolical. You can't kick 6 goals to 0 in a quarter. In the second quarter, we're leading at halftime by 13 points. And then Collingwood, like I've said numerous times, just rolled over and let the Lions pet them on the stomach. Because after halftime, it was just no bueno. And I know we were only down by 12 points at one stage in the last quarter. And, we look, I'll say it again. We should have beaten Brisbane, and we could have beaten Brisbane. A lot of selection dramas and a lot of resting dramas, selection dramas, injury dramas, everything that we saw throughout, like foreshadowed throughout the season, is from round 0 to this prelim, came to fruition in that prelim. So everything that we've seen, selection, too old, too slow, the game plan, you know, resting, sort of like resting players, and umpires as well. Everything foreshadowed previous to this game came out in this game. We saw the Jekyll and the Hyde of Collingwood. Obviously, the Jekyll being that was the Jekyll Dr. Jekyll? Yeah, Dr. Jekyll being the second quarter really well, and then Mr. Hyde being that second half where we sort of forget about, we go away from the game plan, we let Brisbane run riot, and then, we lose to the eventual premiers in 2025. Brisbane go back to back, and Collingwood go back to the AIA Centre. But that is my ranking of every single Collingwood game in 2025. There's actually more incredible games than I thought. So what's that ratio? 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 13 incredible and good games, and 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 3, 6, 9, and 12. So there's more good than bad. That 50-50, I'm saying they're sort of bad, right? So there's more good than bad according to my calculations. Let me know your thoughts down below. Be sure to fill out that the survey as well. I really do appreciate it. We'll be drawing out the winner in the next couple of weeks. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.